The art of teaching for me is the art of questioning. If you've ever tried to write your own tests or assignments, you know that writing good, clear questions that inspire the answers you want is hard. Every once in a while, though, I happen upon a question that seems to work. Those moments are rare, but they feel special. Every year, my 8th graders divide up parts of 3 famous speeches to memorize. I give my students a list of the parts and then draw names at random so that they can request the parts they want. The tension and flurry to get the shortest part possible is furious. You'd think the 2-line parts were One Direction tickets. I always enjoy the drama, but one year I started to think, hey, wouldn't it be interesting if there was this kind of fight for the harder parts? What if everyone wanted the more difficult challenge? I mused out loud at the end of the lottery, what does it say that you guys are scrambling to do the least work possible? Does that seem right to you? That bugs me. What would the world be like if the opposite were true? It seemed to be a line of thinking they hadn't considered before because it got quiet, and the ones who hadn't been paying attention had to get caught up. What would happen, I said, if everyone made the most of this assignment? Or for that matter, their whole school experience, tried their hardest more of the time. What if everyone to whom a public education was offered, imperfect as it may be sometimes, took advantage and graduated as successfully as they could? We had to take a minute to let it sink in. After that discussion, a better way to ask the question evolved. It started with Aaron. Aaron was a boy who had never had a passing grade in English, but had 100% on the CRT. You know the type, very bright, but failing school. He was fun to have in class because his answers and insights were interesting and complex, but he never had a paper, pencil, or a finished assignment. After trying all my usual ways to help him do the work, I kind of lost it. We do that as teachers, especially when we see failure when there is no need. Aaron, I blurted, would you want you working for you? He said, what? I said, I understand it's a little hard to follow, a lot of yous in a row. Do you want someone working the way you work, working for you? If you hired someone to roof your house and they showed up without the tools they needed to do the job and never finished it, would you be okay with that? He said, of course not. So if you, Aaron, wouldn't hire you, Aaron, doesn't that worry you? 8th graders all believe they will start working very differently when someone's paying them. But they've all had, in some instance or other, someone work for them that hadn't done the best job. It's a pretty short list when you're 13, but they've all had a restaurant or fast food worker get their order wrong. They've encountered retail employees who couldn't answer their questions and didn't seem too interested in helping them. Many have stories of home improvement or home repair that their parents are still upset about. I didn't ask them for opinions on educators, but I'm guessing they could have given me a few. And they have surprisingly strong criticism for unmotivated politicians and even their mom's laundry skills. Thus, the question became part of my repertoire. Do you want you working for you? These are the work or non-work skills that come up most often in my class, but I'm guessing you could easily make a list of your own. Does the bare minimum, doesn't follow instructions, is unprepared, works only when coerced. On the positive side, what if everyone fought for the harder parts? Wouldn't this kind of employee be ideal? Studied their job, met customer and employer expectations, on time and prepared, even if no one was watching. Fortunately, I've had the pleasure of teaching many students like this. Do good work skills actually matter in the real world? A brief perusal of Yelp.com, a site where people rate their local businesses, would seem to indicate these are exactly the kind of criticisms and praise we have for those who make our hamburgers. I'll admit I often ask the question in frustration, trying to get through to a particularly difficult kid. And so far, it's worked every time. I hope I'm not harsh, but I think it's important. Most recently, Matthew asked me if reading Clifford the Big Red Dog would count for home reading. Sure, I said, because you want the girl that makes your hamburger to try to get away with as little work as possible. And you're going to watch an NBA star who plays way below his skill level because he already has the job, so he might as well take it easy. A boy named Braden helped me out by adding, hey, I wouldn't want to watch him. I'd like to tell you that Aaron showed up every day after that, prepared for class, and did every assignment I ever gave him. But you've been there, and you know better. I was hopeful later in the year when someone else got asked the same question. I think it was Courtney, who wrote a note through the entire lesson and then asked to have the lesson repeated at assignment time. At first, she didn't understand what I was asking her, so Aaron explained it to her. It makes sense, he said, if you think about it. Thank you.